Hey, we are starting up. Hello, Dr. Lisa here. Thanks so much for being here. I feel like every day on this human systems project that I'm doing, which is a daily journal going live here on Substack, I'm experimenting a bit here on Substack. Um, is I feel like I should be playing the that Netflix um like that Netflix music for, right, as I'm like getting myself ready. Bec- because it feels like that. It feels like I'm like going to be interviewing myself. But I just think it's super important because I think the latest stat is like only 26% of the searches. Basically, what this project is a calling for women to just get online and become the data to some extent. And I know some people, a lot of women in my circles, yoga therapists, physical therapists, a lot of holistic people, they're kind of in the anti-AI process right now. But unfortunately, because we don't rule the world yet, and there is definitely a pushback to anything intelligent or anything of reality going on. We're not going to fight the system by saying, well, I'm just not going to use it because honestly, going off on a grid back in the 70s and 80s was wonderful, saying I'm anti, government, anti tech, anti, but where does it leave us? It just left you behind, right? So definitely, you need to be smarter with how you're using LLMs. You need to be realizing that there's researchers out there like Fifi Lee who is wanting us to have a right brain modeled um, AI model and not just a left brain large language model. So, like, things are going to happen. But right now, I feel like we're the hieroglyphics being left in the stone, and the digital world, the ether, eternal net, whatever that is anywhere somebody could discover something. And just like the Sumerian tablets, where people were digging into the stone and leaving such wisdom, that's what we're going to have to do now. And we're going to have to like be seen and heard. And so I'm trying to consciously do that because back in my heyday, um, 2016, 17, 18, I was right in there with Allied Health, trying to get them to get online, make your personal brand. I had Mind Body Brand Academy, do your IP, protect your stuff. But I just, like I said yesterday in my journal, I just think we're going to need the warriors right now that are just out there, just being human, just being human. So these are not necessarily my content for my body enterprises or any of that work that I want to put in. This is just me trying to, like, I don't even want to say fight the system. I'm trying to give them a variable, and I'm inviting others to give them a variable that they didn't think of. And this messes up the algorithms. This sort of coming in the back door approach to what they're expecting everyone to do is exactly what they have absolutely no innovation, um, continuously show they're incompetent in sort of having the agility. I have what's called the curvy hustle in my methodology, but like that's what I'm talking about. Being able to, like, right? Like the athlete on the field that has the agility is going to get past the big, powerful players. That's where we're at, people. So yeah, so every day is going to be like my couple seconds of my Netflix documentary music, and then coming in on a subject. And today, what we're going to put out into the Ethernet is the conversation around what the hell is going on with Mayo Clinic. My conversations are in healthcare. I'm in the healthcare realm still, no matter if I'm working at the end of women's empowerment, women's health, personal treatment and care. I'm no longer working clinically, but still empowering people who are there, like every single angle underneath the umbrella of healthcare. Medicine is one of those things underneath it. Mayo Clinic has now come under fire because of allegedly firing someone, mainly because they brought up the fact that their AI was wrong and their AI program was wrong, coming up with hallucinations. I think let me get the stats. I don't want to be part of the false, the bad data. 67% error rate, allegedly Tracy Tomiko Ito's lawsuit against Mayo Clinic mentions that researchers allegedly concealed a 67% error rate in their AI assistant, Maya, or Maya, I guess Maya for Mayo Clinic. I would say Maya because a lot of my work was in yoga therapy. But Maya is interesting. Let's just bring it in because Maya is, I love the way God's working on this because Maya, Maya is what we call in the yogic system of illusion, of sort of the underlying of sort of our ignorance, and that has nothing to do with our intelligence. And just the fact that AI is always talking about intelligence, but literally doesn't necessarily mean that the veil of ignorance is lifted is just so funny. That this is the lawsuit coming out of healthcare right now is their assistant Maya, pronounced I'm sure as Maya for the Mayo Clinic, but I'm going to call it Maya, deleting unfavorable results. And I was just on here, my last podcast over here on Substack was talking about, I think we're just going to need the people from healthcare, community health. I'm not talking about medicine. Medicine is important. I just think the whole entire industrial medical complex has got to collapse. I hate to say it, but people are dying with it not collapsing, and they're just going to die more with it just trying to sustain itself as a business model. It's not helping anybody. So we have to have some sort of collapse. So what's going to take it up is community health. That's basically my conversation. Community health, allied health, operating outside the medical complex. So that's your people like me who ran away 2 decades ago. I formed the Belly Guru. It was an integrative yoga therapy center. Inside it, I put my women's health private practice as a physical therapist. I wasn't even a doctor of physical therapy yet because the profession had not been brought up to a doctorate yet, because this is back in 2005. Totally radical, completely innovative, more along the lines of where I had come from before I moved to the Carolinas, which was the New York City metro area. I had seen this sort of entrepreneurship all the time, right? Taking a little curve, taking a little tangent on what was there and making it better. To get things done the way you wanted, right? Took my New York state of mind, moved it down to North Carolina, the Charlotte region, and all of a sudden I was like radical. And honestly, it was so slow moving down here. It was radical for at least 10 years until the entire healthcare model changed. And we had started getting onto digital. We started getting on social media. People started understanding what a personal brand was. People started understanding that you could sell physical therapy outside of being a physical therapy clinic. It just took a long time. So now we have a big acceleration over the past few years since the pandemic. And healthcare, unfortunately, like every other industry, we have seen all the Maya, all the ignorance, all the illusions kind of come up. And this particular lawsuit has to do with what I've been saying, where I'm sort of sitting in the intersection here. I see the value of the tech. I always have. That's why I went, and as soon as I saw the ability to make my own website, I said, ooh, I don't have to worry about being this big famous book writing doctor of so-and-so. I can just start talking. And then, once I saw YouTube, I said, ooh, I don't need to necessarily make a exercise video like Denise Austin or Jane Fonda or whatever. I could come on. And so I understand the value of the tech. For the underdog. I understand it for connecting the dots where the gaps are so wide. But what AI is really good at is it's really good at organizing and systematizing fragmented pieces. And unfortunately, human beings are fractional. Every piece of us, every discipline, and this has been my big complaint and many people's big complaint with Western medicine and where allopathic care went as opposed to Eastern medicine, and where things like Ayurveda and to some extent the hermetics before it, and definitely when we look at Chinese medicine, looking at the person as a whole in their whole environment, that kind of fragmentation as opposed to the Eastern model's fractionalization. So what do I mean in those differences? A fraction is a part of a whole. You understand the whole is important, and that your fraction has to be able to operate in the whole the same way, and that it won't. 1/6 is not going to operate the same as 6/6. Yet in Western medicine and research, we sort of fragment everything into different disciplines. Hey, Anne, how are you? We fragment everything into different disciplines, and then we assume this deep study of this cell in a petri dish in a very sterilized environment, or on a mouse's cell in a petri dish in a very sterilized environment, is going to react the same when we put that cell back in the whole unit. And we're more complex than that. And we've made it very, very complicated because complicated sells things in a sick care model. And I hate to say it, but keeping things complicated makes a lot of money in a system that is made to make money in a complicated system. Human beings are just complex. We're not really complicated. It's pretty basic. Poop every day, drink clean water, hydrate yourself. You're mostly water. Move around, because that's how things get around. Breathe, be able to breathe. Be in environments that are not toxic in many levels. Like we're complex, but we're really not complicated. So we've really made medicine complicated, the payer system and everything. So it's just very interesting to me, this lawsuit right now being brought up against the Mayo Clinic with the AI, because I sit there, I understand. I'm like, whoa, slow down. I'm not anti-AI. I'm anti any sort of tech. Like, have we not just lived through social media? Have we not just looked at behavioral marketing? Have we not just looked at like I'm confused because there's so many people who I actually thought were the smart people, like the highly intelligent, well-educated, and well-paid, and had the status. Like, I don't know why they're in bed right now with this obvious kind of like, what other thing have we introduced in a mass adoption so recklessly at the worst possible time of unrest, civilly, mentally, psychologically? Like, what would pass the test to literally be thrown in with no guardrails? It's like, it's screaming, it's not a red flag. It's like 15 bright light red flags. And I don't think that's because I'm like a literate person. I don't think it's because I have a couple degrees. I just think that, like, what's going on? So of course my radar's up, right? Because I'm a systems thinker. And that's how you have to be as a doctor of physical therapy, as a certified yoga therapist, as a certified health coach, as everything that I've brought in has always trained me. Plus, growing up the way I did, I had to be kind of hyper vigilant. Like, I'm not doubting myself in this. It's just that I still have to operate. And it's because of this. It's because that if this alleged lawsuit ends up on the side of Miss Ito's allegations, she was fired because she was doing her job. And that's what we're working with here. And I'm not saying we stop until we have the guardrails. I'm just saying that if you are in community health, if you are doing anything for community health right now, what I'm going to throw back to you is, how are you playing it? I'm playing it that I'm trying to get educated. I went and I worked in 2023. I was working with the training of these models from a company that was sort of working with their projects. And I saw a lot of things coming online before I saw it sold. So I'm in a good spot right now to say, not just be a BS detector, but literally say, I know where they were going. I can see it. Plus, I was an entrepreneur for several years already doing digital marketing. I know why they went into marketing. I like saw the writing on the wall. They went into marketing. They helped all of marketing. They secured that market because why? Because that's what we do. That's what the madmen do. In 1950s, it was advertising, propaganda and advertising. Propaganda and advertising. That's what was in politics. That was what got us the gold star of being always on the right side of democracy. And everything's coming up now, right? But like they use the same playbook. And I'm telling you, when I was training systems, they're using the same playbook. The same way they paid advertising to make sure that the tobacco industry was okay, even though all the research said it's killing people. They still literally signed on doctors to say, hey, ladies, and they always go for the ladies. They always go for the ladies. Why? Because we all know that the ladies are running this show as much as we can for safety and thinking, and like we're the glue. No matter how much you press us down. And it's the same thing with marginalized groups. They're the glue. The immigrants, they're the glue. People from other countries with innovative things and understand being on the other side of the big US propaganda, they're the glue. So they love to keep us weak, but they also will definitely try to use us. And one of the ways they do it is by getting us in terms of marketing and distracting us and all of that. It's no different in healthcare. It's no different in healthcare, and we need to understand it. And I'm at this odd spot because I am not anti-doctors, anti-experts, anti-intellectualism at all. I just think it's gone off the third rail somewhere where if I have enough money and I want to pay Harvard and I want to be in their MD program, I could probably pay somebody to do well enough on the MCAT and get myself into that program. And I might not have necessarily done well in school, but my father or my mother's going to give them a lot of money, and then I could probably get my MD from Harvard now. That shouldn't be how we're doing things. That shouldn't be how we're doing things. Everything's a business transaction, and nobody's thinking of the future. So I'm looking at this lawsuit, and if the researchers allegedly had to conceal 67% error rates in their AI assistant, Maya, which I'm going to call Maya because inside joke to anybody who has studied from the Vedic wisdom, to delete unfavorable results, then my question keeps being, how are clinicians just handing over their scribing to any AI model? And by the way, those small clinics, the reason I'm working with small clinics and women-owned clinics is because we left the system because we really honestly want to do things right. We want to do things right. We want to bring our knowledge. We want to help the people who need the help. But unfortunately, we don't got the money of Mayo Clinic. We don't got the money of the Harvards. We don't got the money of the Columbia universities. And if they're implementing AI into the big health model while also firing people, allegedly, this is all alleged, firing the whistleblowers inside, then we're going to have to we're not going to change big health. We're not, medicine right now is consumed by big health. Big health right now is owned by the private equities called insurance. Like, we understand that. I'm talking about, so what? So what? Okay. The big guys got the ball there. What are we doing in community health? And community health, meaning all of allied health, all of the health coaches, all of the relational coaches, all of the people that are helping to help the social determinants of health, which is the housing and the homelessness and the access to public health information. How are we going to use AI for that? Because we could use small AI very strategically to give ourselves leverage where we don't have money. And if we make that good enough, guess what? Somebody from big health, somebody from big money is going to give us money because they don't give a crap. They don't care who they're working with. They don't care. They're not anti good things happening. They're just really pro bad things happening because that's what pays them the most money. But if people can navigate and curve their hustle in a community sort of way and give them, we see this all the time. We see a high schooler or a college student come up with an app that can radically change an industry. And all of a sudden, somebody comes out of the woodwork and give them $1 million for it. Hell, we saw Sam Altman do this with Y Combinator. Like, they will just give, like, it's nothing about competence. So if my theory is, and I'll close it up with this with my note for today, because I'm trying to make these guys 20 minutes or less. I'm already 35 seconds over it. What if the actual intelligent people, the actual well-educated people, the actual well-intended people, created things that the people with a lot of money who just follow the money bags want to invest in? Like, what if we just do that? Like, what if we just say the heck with trying to change the things they're investing in? We all know that's all going to end up in crash. All those people are going to need health care. All those people are going to need well care. All those people are going to need the social determinants of health taken care of. Let's just work there. Let's just stay in our lane and be like a Buckminster Fuller kind of mindset and say, we're just making the better models. We're going to use AI. Look, they unleashed AI. We weren't observant 10 years ago. We didn't see it coming. What do we do now? To fight it and say no, it's a waste of our time and energy. You're not going to be off the grid that much. So how are we going to use it better? Right? How are we going to use it better? How are we going to use it when we know Mayo Clinic allegedly is not the only one doing this? It's all going to crash and burn. It's all going to crash and burn because, I mean, in this story, Ito, the plaintiff was isolated, demoted, and fired while on medical leave for depression caused by the stress of speaking up. Yeah, this is the same. We're on the same page as her. Like, we're all on the same team, guys. The person that's burnt out, the physician that's like running around crazy, like given more tech that just wastes more of their time. They have even less bedside manner. Now the nursing is bidding, my yesterday note, bidding against each other for a slot, which is going to just lower everybody's, making everybody, like, it's just a new way to make us all slaves and like have us easily create the patterns that they can then say is the new norms and standards. Like, how can we see this now and like literally start creating the other things? Like, what I'm saying is just coming on and talking about these things. I'm not curated. I'm not cultured. I'm probably going to be bypassed by people who are like, need that, like need to be entertained. Great. That's how I'm using it. I want smart people. I want smart, intelligent people who like hear something or like trust anything I post and like read, like to listen in and then contribute. Like, we're going to have to just do this a different way because that's what they do, guys. That's what they do. They bully the people that are doing the right thing. And I would like to say that in 21st century, that's done. Like the end of capitalism, the end of feminism in terms of like, we're not going to need it. We're not going to need it when we actually have equity and equality and diversity and inclusion and all the things they tried to push out. Like, when we just say, so what? Okay, you don't want it? That's fine. We're going to operate community health with this. We're just going to do it. We don't need your permission. Oh, you're going to try to be a problem? That's okay. We're going to create our own legal counsel from all the burnt out lawyers and the paralegals that you fired and put in AI for. Like, that's all right. Women have been doing it. People of color have been doing it. The gay, lesbian, trans community, like they're all doing it. Like, we're just gonna have to figure it out. Every country that the US went into and is living under poverty and horrible conditions right now and we've helped out, they're doing it. We can do it. So that's my note for today. Thanks for being on my live and participating in this Human Systems Project.